welcome to Unschooling Conversations. Today I am joined by Tiersa McQueen, and in this episode we are going to talk about unschooling because we haven't quite decided yet. So we're just gonna talk unschooling. My name is Heidi Steel. I am a former teacher and unschooling parent to 4 school-aged children who are happy living and learning as they go. I've been unschooling for almost 10 years. And you can find me on Facebook at LIVEPLAYLEARN, where I provide daily support and encouragement for unschooling families. So welcome, Tiersa, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Heidi. I'm so happy to be here.
Would you like to introduce yourself? Let's start with that, and then we can go from there.
Sure. I'm Tiersa McQueen. I am an unschooling mom of 4 free children.
Living with other human beings is tricky.
I'm living in Florida in the United States, and I am an avid tweeter. I tweet a lot at Tiersa J, so look for me there. And I also am just an advocate for unschooling. I've been doing it for like the last 6 years, homeschooling and then unschooling. So yeah, I'm always available to help give support to any unschooler or somebody who wants to, think about this as a lifestyle. I think it's awesome. And so I'm here to help.
We can't just say that this way of life is all bells and whistles and it's fantastic, because we live with other human beings.
Right.
And it's not always straightforward. Some, large portions of it are brilliant, and we learn about each other's ways, and we learn when to recognize signals and people need space. We learn about how to come together and how to respond and interact with each other. But that isn't plain sailing all the time, because we are living with other human beings who have emotions and thoughts and opinions to varying degrees of strength and passion. That comes with being part. That's part of life. That's the life part, really.
And it's very integral to what we're doing, because what you said about living with other human beings, those other human beings are children. And a lot of times it's hard for people to understand, because they don't see children as fully formed human beings. And if you don't see a child as a fully formed human being who's living their life right now, who's not in training to be a fully formed human being, they already are. They came here already, and they were fully formed when they came here. We're just, since we're already here, we have more experience. We're like their tour guides. Like, we're just showing them, okay, this is how we do when we go out to eat. This is how we're just showing them how it is to be in our culture. That's it. It would be like if I came to your country and you showed me, okay, Tiersa, this is how we do this. And this, because I don't know. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So if you respect a child as a human being, that's one of the ways that makes it easier. Because I give you the same respect that I would want if I went to a foreign place. They're new here. They're new to Earth. So, I give you the same respect that I would want if I went to another place. I wouldn't want someone to think I was stupid because I didn't know something, or make fun of me because I used the fork in the wrong way, or did something that wasn't, culturally appropriate. No, I would just want them to gently correct me as the person that I am. So that's how I go through my unschooling journey, is that these are children, they're human beings, and they're just new to a place, which is Earth, which is Florida, I'm their tour guide. I'm just showing them how to get along in this space. But also, you're showing me, because you are new here, so you have a different perspective, and you are also like coming up in an age that I didn't come up in. So you're showing me about all the technology and all the new things and the way that the world is going to be. You're giving me like a glimpse into the future, and I'm giving you a glimpse into the past. You know what I mean? So and then we come together as human beings at different stages of life. And when you can see it in that way, that we're just all human beings at different stages of life, and we're helping each other, it just makes it so much more easier than thinking about it as in like this hierarchy where I have to bestow upon you your freedoms. And like, no, we're just all people. We're all human beings. We're different stages of life, and we are helping each other. You
Which is
know,
where we get the term sort of partnering with our children.
yes,
You know, the idea that, you know, there are some things that I'm gonna, you know, help you with, but actually our children are able to show us things as well and teach us about you know, well, like technology, like you say, but even just about things like, you know, living in the moment, you know,
right.
like what am I
Oh,
doing
yes.
in this moment, you know, and I think that's probably something, you know, I'm talking personally really there, but I think it's really valid. Our children have things and wisdom that they can share with us as well, which so we have this partnership with our children rather than the traditional, probably the way most of us were parented, hierarchical system where somebody tells us what to do and when to do it and how high to jump and how things work, and that's how we're expected to fit in regardless of how we're feeling or our perspective in each situation. My son actually is really interested in film and film making rather than the acting, rather than being on the camera, all the stuff behind the camera and the editing. And yeah, when I first started doing the podcast and was beginning a little bit like you were saying, actually, I decided this is what I was going to do, and instead of you know, researching what that might be or how that might work, I just did it. So, and then we got to the editing part and I got in a bit of a pickle. But of course I was sat here and I was like, oh, hang on a minute, my son knows about editing, you know, like he does this with his film stuff. And, you know, called him in and we sat together and he, you know, he showed me what all the icons were and how it worked and what I could do, and probably slightly overwhelmed me with his fabulous knowledge that was too much for what I actually needed. But it was brilliant that, you know, he was able to do that, and that's just an example of how the partnership works. It wasn't a case of me having to hide and pretend that I know what I'm doing and not ask for help, and I'm the adult and I can do it. And
exactly, that is a huge thing. I think that's an excellent point that you bring up that I don't often think about, because I'm an unschooler and I partner with my kids, like you said. I don't often think about, you know, having to know everything and being the one person that like tells them all the information. Like I don't even think about it in that way, but I can understand like why, if I wasn't doing this, I would, you know, have to be like, well, I have to learn it first in order to teach it to them. And no, that's not how it works. Like we learn with each other. Like if they don't know something and I don't also don't know the same thing, we go and learn it together. It's never, I don't feel the pressure of having to know a whole, like, you know, thing of litany of knowledge so that I can bestow that knowledge onto my children. It's just so much more, you know, we'll learn it together. It's fine. You know, it's fine. We'll just, whatever we don't know, we'll just go find out together and we'll learn it together. Or like you said, they know other things I don't know. So I'm open for them to teach me. You know, it's such a wonderful type of way of living that is not, it's not like transactional. And that so much of life is, I'll do this for you, then you have to do this for me, or I have to get this from someone else, you know, that is higher than me or knows more than me, or like, it's not, everyone has something to teach you. You can learn something from everyone. Everyone knows something you don't know. So just having that type of mind shift has also been very beneficial to my life, in that I don't have to be the one to know everything. Because that's something that comes up a lot when I talk to people who are thinking about unschooling or just starting unschooling, is that like, well, I don't know this thing. How can I homeschool because I don't know this thing? You don't have to know everything. Who told you had to know everything? You know, like, I don't, where did you get that idea? Like, you don't have to know it all. You can just go into it. And then when you don't know, we'll learn it.
Yeah, I don't know what the American curriculum's like. I know very little about the American curriculum, but you know, in over in the UK, you know, my son was really into, well, he still is really into Minecraft, but when he was 5, he was really into Minecraft. But what he was particularly, well, he likes building and Lego, so he likes the engineering side of things. But what really fascinated him at the age of 5 was all the different types of rocks in Minecraft. They don't teach geology to 5-year-olds on the UK curriculum.
Oh no, they don't teach that here.
No, well, I don't know anything about geology. But we went and did it together, you know, like we went and I did a bit of research, like found some museums where they had collections, and we went together and I read him the stuff and we picked the leaflets. And it was brilliant. But that's what happens when you remove the hierarchy from the relationship. You don't have to maintain this facade of power and control by being in charge and knowing everything. It completely it just breaks that down entirely.
Yes, that is so true. It's awesome that you said that, because it's like it illuminates a lot of things that in my life, that and how my life actually works, because I think that allowing that power structure to fall down, that facade to be broken, it allows the children to be put in a position of responsibility as well. So and it gives them the opportunity to make decisions, and they put them in a position to teach someone older than them. So it builds their confidence. You know, all of these things that, if just taking that one position out, that hierarchy out, it allows them to grow in such a great way. And that's why I think a lot of people meet unschoolers and homeschoolers, and they say they're more mature. They have this level of maturity that you don't see in other kids their same age. And I think that's a big part of it, is that they understand their role in this, and they understand that they bring value to this by what they're doing, just by their interests. Like you said, like, I'm interested in rocks. My mom finds out about the museum, then we're going to learn it together. But I could still show her, like, Mom, do you know about this rock? Do you know about that? Do you know what I mean? Like, and it all is sparking, the whole relationship is growing, and we're bonding based off our shared wanting to learn, you know, and this experience that we're having. And it's just so beautiful and natural and organic. It's wonderful. And thank you for saying that, because it just illuminated so many things. Light bulbs went off in my head.
Our children are missing the element of competition in their learning.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And, you know, again, that's about hierarchy. It's about, what do I know that you don't know? What leverage have I got over you? And when our children are together with their peers, and by peers I mean mixed age, you know, peers, they don't have this element of, you know, of using the things that they know and they're good at to sort of replicate that hierarchical system over people that don't know it. They actually offer it as, well, I can do this, I can show you, and all that aspect of age disappears. I'm thinking particularly of my 12-year-old. His best friend is 10. His best friend is able to read, but my 12-year-old can now read, but 6 months ago he was not able to do that. But they were playing a game together, and it was a new game, and it was a computer game, and my son was saying, you know, wait a minute, I can't read the walkthrough. The walkthrough was all in text. I can't read the walkthrough as quick as you have. You're going to have to wait for a minute. And so his 10-year-old best friend said, oh, I'll read it for you. And it was just as easy as that. There wasn't any sort of, you know, finger pointing. There wasn't any berating. And it was a really lovely moment. But that's not a single isolated
Oh, absolutely not. That's how it works.
Things are.
That's how it works. You hear stories like that all the time, especially relating to, reading and also playing video games. A lot of unschoolers learn to read because they needed to read instructions in video games. Mine did. You know what I mean? Like my son, he knew how to read, but like you said, he was not reading as quickly. And he would ask me to read the instructions for him in the video games. And so one day, and I would do it, just like you said. Like, it wasn't like, why don't you know this yet? Or, it was nothing. It was just like, okay, I'll read it for you. And then I had to do something. I was like doing something. He wanted to play the game at the same time. And I was like, I can't do it right now. I'm busy. And that is when he decided, nope, I need to learn how to read, because I can't depend on mom every single time I want to do something to have her come here and read this for me. I'm gonna have to learn how to do it myself. So he learned it as it became applicable to his life. When he needed it, he said, nope, I'm gonna buckle down and I'm going to learn how to read fluently because I want to play these games. And that's how it happens. It happens so organically. But I love that story because I love that child was able to say, well, I'll just read it for you. No big deal. You know what I mean? Like, and that's part of what you were talking about earlier about growing the community outside of your home and extending the community so that you have more people who are like that, more children who grow up with that mindset of it's okay if they don't know. Doesn't mean they'll never know. They'll learn it later. They just don't know it now. So let me just tell them, I do know it. So it's a collaboration because your son knows something he doesn't know that he can help him with, so it's just, we collaborate more than we compete. And that is such a wonderful life experience that I wish more people could get the opportunity to live in that way, where you feel like the collaboration is much better and a better way of living than the competition, because so much of our lives is competing with each other, even ourselves. Like people will say, oh, the only competition I have is myself. Like, I'm not even trying to compete with myself. I'm trying to collaborate with myself. I'm trying to work with myself and build off of what I knew before. I'm not trying to compete with myself. Like, no, thank you. I rather work with myself, So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
About light bulbs going off, and that whole idea about collaborating with yourself, that's brilliant, because we're so often trying to improve and be better and
exactly
and push. And the idea that actually, well, how about we tune into ourselves and our own needs? How about, when I'm talking about rest a lot, like I must be tired or something, but like, how about,
no, it's important though.
But how about we recognize when we need to rest and actually do that instead of pushing ourselves more?
Oh my God, you're preaching to the choir, because like there's so much of me has been keep going. Like, I've been conditioned to push through. So when I'm tired, I still work. And when I have to go to the bathroom, I wait till the last possible second. I'm still working. And then I don't, I've been conditioned to not listen to my body and to basically push through any pain that I feel and keep working, and I just recently, I want to say, like, this last year, even though I've been unschooling this whole time, I still had that in me. And I didn't put it on my kids, but it still was with me. And so this last year, I was just actually talking to someone. I was telling them I had challenged myself to like read 52 books, like book a week. And so I did that, and I hated it. Like, I literally was like, I actually did read the 52 books. I think I read 53, but I couldn't tell. I don't even remember most of the books. Like, I don't even remember what it was I read. Some of them stick out more than others. So I decided I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not. Like, I hated that. I love to read. And this is making me not like reading, because I need to slow down. I need to read a book and then just sit with that, see what else comes up for me, and not just go immediately to the next thing. But like, so I was like, you know what? I'm never doing that again.
I saw that was a thing you were doing. And I love reading. And I've really not been able to engage in that passion, I guess, for not avidly for a while. I might read 1 or 2 books or 3 books, I don't know, 4 or 5 books a year or something. Anyway, I saw you were doing that and I was like, wow, that's life goals. I'm
usually
going
I do read like 3 or 4 books a year, right? But you know how you get in that mindset of like, I need to be doing more and I need to like keep doing more. And so I was like, I'm gonna make a goal and I'm gonna push through and I'm gonna do 52 books. I'm gonna do a book a week. I know I can do it. And I did do it. But I hated it. I hated the experience. I think it sucked. And that's why I tweeted about it, because I was like, I want other people to know. Don't push yourself to do all these things that you think you have to do so much. Like, no, sometimes you get more out of less. Sometimes reading less is actually better. Sometimes slowing down, actually, you get more out of the experience when you slow down. So yeah, like it's very, let's work with ourselves. Let's go with the flow of our own bodies. Let's listen to what our bodies are telling us and going with the experiences that we have and deciding like, you know what, this is actually not for me. I don't actually really like this. I know this is what they say we should do, but I don't actually want to do that. And also listening to yourself before you get into that situation and being like, does that sound like something I would enjoy? Like really, like knowing yourself enough to be like, actually not something I want for my life. No, thank you. Even if everyone is saying this is what you need to do, and you know, if you don't do that, you're lazy, or if you know, like it's okay. And so I just came to that realization that I need to, instead of just always trying to push myself to be better than I was, accept that I'm enough already and just go with the flow of myself and collaborate with myself, not always trying to compete with myself. Oh, I read 10 books last year. I'm going to read 12 books this year. No, maybe this year I read 4. Maybe next year I read 12. Like just going with the flow
I think
of
it
me.
takes a while for us to get to know ourselves.
Oh, yes.
As well.
Oh,
because,
absolutely.
Like even the whole, like, I mean, I was at school for, I don't know, what, 12 years is it? Then I went to university. Then I was a teacher. Like the whole idea that I could go to the toilet when I needed to go to the toilet. And it sounds really silly, but like even
I know what you mean. Yeah.
When you're teaching, you can't leave the classroom. You have to go at break times. You're still doing the same sort of schedule as you had when you were like in as a pupil. And like you say, like experts will tell you that you need, 8 hours sleep a night. Well, do you know what? I need more than 8 hours sleep a night. And as it happens, my husband needs far less than 8 hours sleep a night. But actually giving ourselves permission to listen to ourselves instead of listening to an expert.
Experts, yeah, exactly.
Expert, because they are not the expert on you.
That's right.
You need to listen to you. If you like, I need, 10 hours sleep. Then have 10 hours sleep. It's not. My life is not going to be improved by listening to an expert and only having 8 hours sleep. That's not going to improve.
You're absolutely right. And you know what's funny is that talking about like how our kids teach us, like my children push through, and it's not because they feel like they need to, it's because they're so excited about what they're doing that they are like, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm so excited about doing this thing, or I want to keep building the Legos. Like, but you need to take a break because you've been building Legos for 4 hours straight and you haven't eaten anything. I didn't see you drink any water and you need rest. So it's both of those things are present in our lives, but they're for different reasons. For me, I was conditioned to, like you said, like I went to school and I couldn't go to the bathroom or I couldn't eat when I needed to or all these things. But for them, it's because they're so excited and wrapped up in what they're doing that they forget or they don't realize it because they're so young that you actually do need to rest and you do need to, so we both have to learn that. We both have to learn that. And like I was telling you earlier, my 15-year-old son, he's very structured. He has to have a schedule, but the original schedule that he made was a timed one. So from 8 to 9, I do this. From, 9 to 10, I do this. And then he wasn't getting enough rest. So I said, well, why don't you make a checklist and then just do all those things in a day? And it just whenever you can get it done anytime you want, but just check it off instead of blocking off the hours. Because sometimes what if you don't feel like doing that at that time and you want to move it to, like, don't be so rigid in what you do. And he said, okay, so that's how he does things now. But he had to come to it too, even as he's an unschooler. And he still had to come to the fact that I need rest. I need to listen to my body. I need to, because he would be tired and just do it, kept going. And I'm like, why do you keep going? He's like, I want to get this done. I'm like, well, it's okay. I'll still be here. Just still take a nap. It's okay. And so now it was a process, but now he's like, okay, I understand now.
Yeah.
I work better afterwards if I get my rest,
But I think
So
unschooling, I think, gives us more opportunity to be reflective on those experiences. So when we do push through, or when, we forget to eat, or when, we decide to experiment with our sleep cycles, or our children decide to experiment with their sleep cycles, unschooling gives them more opportunity to be reflective on those and to alter and change things and try out other stuff, because there's more flexibility in our lifestyle.
Yes, it gives you the opportunity to figure out what works best for you. Yeah. Absolutely.
So like you say, like the process, it's a process.
It is. It's a process. Not we come to it, and like you said, we reflect on it. Like, okay, what worked here and what didn't. What can I do differently? And it's a gift, like you said, to be able to give that to our children. That opportunity to just be able to figure out yourself. Because it's so much of school we weren't able to figure out who we were because we had to listen to what other people were telling us was the right thing to do, even if it didn't feel right to us. And even though that may have been the right thing for us, not coming to it on our own puts a lot of doubts in your mind, of, is this what I really want? Or is this what I just did because someone told me to do it? And when you take that off of the table, that person they probably make the same decision you made, but the way they got to that decision, was on their own. They came to it on their own. So it's working out better for them. They enjoy the experience so much more because it was their choice. Yeah.
And they can see through their own experience, like you were saying, what worked and what didn't. And they get to try out the alternatives too. So like you say, your son, likes structure, but he makes that structure work for him. It's not dictated to him by someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And he comes to me and asks me for help with it too. It's not like he has to do it on his own. He knows he doesn't have to make all these decisions on his own. I'm here for him. So like I'll help him do the schedule. Why don't you put this on there? Have you thought about doing this? Do you like to do these things? You know what I mean? Like, oh, have you scheduled breaks into your day? Have you scheduled eating into your day? So, he still comes to me as his consultant, as someone who he knows has more experience than him. But he, at the end of the day, is able to make the thing on his own. He's able to make the final decision on his own. It's his call at the end of the day. But, that's another thing that I think that people really need to realize about our lifestyle is that it's not a sink or swim type of situation. Like, we don't just throw the kids out there and now they're like, okay, do what you want to do. And no, they still have us as we know things and we give suggestions to them as their parents would. Like we see them doing things like, have you thought about doing it this way? The only difference is they can say, I don't want to do that right now. That's the difference. Like, just like you said, with the hierarchy, where there's no hierarchy. So I'm still going to make suggestions based off what I know, the fact that I'm older than you and I've lived much more. So I have a lot of experiences that you don't have and maybe some knowledge that you don't have yet. And I will suggest it to you, but at the same time, you are you and you're the expert on you. So you can tell me, nope, that's not going to work for me. And I'll accept it. It's fine. And then maybe later on, you'll take my suggestions. That happens a lot. Okay, like I will suggest like, oh, I see you doing this thing. Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about reading that? And they're like, no, Mom, that's not what I want to do right now. And I'm like, okay. And then like 5 months later, that just recently happened with my daughter. Everyone's having a hard time during the pandemic, right? We're all having mental health like issues, anxiety, all the things. And so she was having a hard time one day, and I said, why don't you try like guided meditation? Like, why don't you try that? And she said, I don't think I want to try that. It doesn't sound like it's for me. And then later on, like 5 months later, she said, I tried the guided meditation, Mom, actually, and I love it. Like, I actually love it. So It happens all the time. Like I'll suggest something and they'll do it like a long time after I first suggested it, but they do end up doing it at some point. They'll try out what mom thought, just not at that moment. They have to get to it. But yeah, it happens like all the time. Like, you make suggestions and they do it. They'll do it later. They won't just do it right when you said it. They have to come to it. But being able to say no, I think that's a huge thing. Like there's just like a huge like meme culture now where people are saying like apologize to children. Absolutely apologize to children. But also with that, respect their right to say no. Okay, respect that they don't have to do exactly what you told them to do, just because you think that this is the right thing for them to do. They should be allowed to say no as a human being. And just know that they are able to make that decision. If they're faced with a decision, they're going to make a decision. Most of the time, they're going to make a decision on par with an adult would make. They're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. That's the same thing I would do.
Yeah. So I actually have a blog post about listening to our children say no. And I think it's really hard for adults to do that because we are, we are taught that children
listen to us
and do what they're told. So one of the things when you come to unschooling is being comfortable with our children saying, no, that's not for me right now. I don't want to do that. Or like you say, but I think I write in the blog post, like we might suggest something and they'll say no. That doesn't mean it's a no forever.
Right.
Like in next month or tomorrow, or even, a few hours down the line, they might actually that might have sunk in a little bit and they might go, actually, that maybe I do want to do that, or maybe I do want to have a look at that book or go to that place or see that person, whatever it was. It's not it doesn't have to be a no forever, but we still have to respect the fact that they have said no in that moment.
Exactly. And it gets easier. It gets so much easier because a lot of times, especially as moms, we think we know our children more than they know themselves, which is impossible. You can't know a person more than they know themselves. But we do. We have this deep connection to them because we carried them, or just because we're their mother. That we feel like we watch you grow, so we know you so much, and this is exactly what you need. And while that may be true, that person still has the right to say, that's not what I need right now. And we need to respect that. And it helps them. For me, it's more of I need to respect their right to say no as the first person in their life that's an authority figure, because I need them to get the practice saying no to people in authority. That's another thing. I need you to be able to, when you go out into the world and something doesn't feel right to you, it doesn't feel like it's for you, you're able to say no and not be this people pleasing to authority person that is just like, oh, well, I don't really think this is the right thing for me to do, but I'm still going to do it because this teacher told me to do it, or, this person that's in authority to me told me to do it. Like, no, that's not. We need to have more people in the world who are able to push back.
Yeah, they also need to know that when they say no, the person they're saying no to needs to listen.
Yes.
So it's that two-way thing. It's about giving them they already have the authority to say no, but knowing that they have the authority to say no.
Knowing that you have the authority to say
no. But also knowing that person needs to listen to your no, that, that if they're not listening, you can persevere with that no and it, see that through. So I want to ask you what your favorite things about unschooling are. Is that possible? Can you?
Yeah, it's all of it. It's all the things that we're talking about. My favorite part of unschooling, though, has been just learning from the kids. Has been my favorite part of this whole journey. Like the unexpected surprises that come along with the expansion of my life because of this. The way I think differently now that's been such a blessing to me. And all of the people that I've met, like you, Heidi, like Akila Richards, like just all of the people in this community are so great and so wonderful, and just so real. It's real in a way that is it's not when you're in like a mom group that are schooled people where everyone's trying to, my son he's reading on a 12th grade level and he's doing astrophysics. You know what I mean? Like it's not, it doesn't feel authentic. Unschooling feels authentic. It feels real. It feels like real people who are living their lives and they're sharing their mistakes, their ups and downs, their worries, their fears. And just the community has been one of the biggest blessings that I've experienced for this, that I didn't know that I would. And I'm grateful that it's growing and expanding. Since I know you could see, since you've always done it for 10 years, I know you've seen how much more people do, because I wasn't doing this 10 years ago. I had kids 10 years ago. I had 4 children 10 years ago, and I wasn't doing this. So I know you see how many more people and how more diverse it's become as well. It's just a beautiful thing to be a part of and to be witnessing, especially at this point in our history, where it feels so accessible to choose this. It's something that you can choose, and we have all the resources, but also the community to like help you, bridge the gap from where you are and where you want to be. There's so many people that are in this community that can help you. So that's been my favorite part, is just the meeting the other people and talking to the other people and how accepted I feel in this space.
I love how like you say, when we're talking about things in the unschooling community, so when it feels like I learn so much from other people, like they bring a perspective and say, well, have you thought about this? And this is my thinking on this. But it doesn't feel judgmental, and it doesn't feel condemning. It feels like can we talk this over? How does this fit? How does this work? It feels like that sort of there's an image I'm trying to think of, like that sharpening of tools, that talking things through, rather than that. We're going back to the competitive thing again, rather than going back to competitiveness and
it is a
I'm
huge
right
thing.
And you're wrong, and
exactly, and
this is better.
Exactly, just like when you were saying that your son was just learn how to read. There's no judgment in an unschooling community about that. Like we would just be like, okay, like we accept it because it's like, okay, well, he knows now. Like we don't think of it, but when you get into other communities, there's all this judgment that comes with it. Like, why doesn't he know? Like, because he didn't want to learn yet. Like, like, because he doesn't know. So when you get on this side of it, when you get into the unschooling community, there's just so much more faith in the children that they will know when they need to know. They will learn when they need to learn. And versus being in like a community of moms or parents that are schooled and they're like, no, they don't know this by 3rd grade, or they don't know this by 4th grade, or they don't know this by now. Like, it's okay. Like, it's all right. We'll help each other. It'll be fine. There's that when you go into another community, there's this initial like, well, why don't they? You know what I mean? Like the judgmental like feeling of, well, mine knows, and mine was, doing this at before they came out the womb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay. But in the unschooling space, we're much more trusting. We're much more like, I know that they'll get it. I know that you have the tools and resources, and you're doing everything that you can to help them.
Yeah,
so
do you
it's
think
fine.
That's because, or linked to how I would say society at large sees children as a product of their parents' involvement or their parents' guidance, and sees children as a product of that, and their child's success is very much linked to the parent. Whereas we've been talking about our children being their own person and already being a whole person and already knowing themselves. And so we're sort of slightly removed in that way from our children being a reflection of us and a reflection of, the effort we've put in. So therefore we don't have to, or we don't feel a need to either judge others in that light, and we don't feel a need to present our children in that light as in, ta-da, look what I
you're absolutely right. It's like just like what you're doing right now. you're still living your life, right? You still have goals. So as a lot of it is that a lot of parents, we get into the space where once we have children, our whole lives go out the window. It's our kids now. So we put all of their success is now our success. No, it's not. Their success is their success. My success is my success. And in order for me to demonstrate this and to show you what I want to model this for you, I have to continue to live my life and go after the goals that I set for myself so that you can have an example of, someone who doesn't put all their eggs into your basket and say that now you exist, I brought you into this world, so now you have to fulfill all of the dreams and wishes and desires that I had that I no longer do because I'm taking all of my energy, putting that onto you, making sure your grades are good, making sure you get into the college that I never got to go to, or making sure that you get the job that I want so that, no, still do those things. Still, you are, as a parent, you should still press forward, especially this. I think it needs to be said to moms that it's your daughter and your son need to see you still trying new things and failing, living your dreams, because then they see, like, they have an example of someone who is doing that, who does that, not just someone who's telling them to do it, but someone who's actually doing it. So I think that's a big part of it too, is that, just like you said, we bring these children into the world and people think of them, they literally say, like, this is mini me. Like, no, it's not. It's not. That's not a miniature version of you. See, how I view my children is that they're not even mine. They're not mine. I say my, just so that you can relate to the familiar, I'm their mother, but they're their own people. And I was just the vessel that got them here. That's it. I am the person that brought them to the world, but they're not me. They're them. We're two separate things. They have their own wants and wishes and desires. And I don't have any wants and wishes and desires for them. I just want to help them do what they want to do. That's how I feel is my responsibility to them, is to provide them with the tools and resources and do everything in my power to help them do what they want to do. Not to try to put some type of goal onto them. Like, that's not my job, because I have my own goals.
I think that is part of doing everything in our power. Like us, we call it running with sparkle is a term that we use. But us doing what we find inspiring for ourselves, us investing in our own goals and our own passions and our own interests and our own pursuits, and not doing it to inspire our children, but that a byproduct of that,
yes,
is
definitely,
that it inspires our children to do the same. And I'll repeat, we're not doing that so that it inspires our children. That's
right. No, I still, you had your goal. You still have your goal. It was your goal. So, but you realize that I realized early on, if I ever wanted my children to do what they wanted to do, I had to do what I wanted to do. Mm. You know what I mean? And we, just like you said, partner and help each other. So you have a goal, you're doing a podcast and your son helps you, but it also helps him to see my mom is still living her life, and she's making things happen out here in the world. And it's funny because my kids will look at me and I'm like, oh, I just was on this podcast. I was just, someone just interviewed me for this newspaper or something. And they're like, okay, Gom, that's great. Like, it becomes second nature to them. It's not even a big deal. It's not a big deal to them, because it's like they expect you to live your life. They expect you to get your goals done, and they hold me accountable. Like, when I have my goal of, like, reading books last year, I'll say, oh, I'm behind on my book goal, and all of my kids will be like, why are you not taking it seriously? They're like, why aren't you meeting your goals? Why aren't you, doing the things? What do you need to do to, make time for that and prioritize that? Like, they'll tell me, they throw my words back onto me so that I can get my goals met. So like you said, it's not so that I can inspire them. It's so that I can get my goals done, so that I can live my life in the way that I want. But it is also inspiring to them. I don't know how inspiring it is to them. I don't even think they're really inspired by it. They just take it as it is. Like, they accept it as Yes. So, and they see it. So they have the example of when I grow up, I can pull from that. Like I remember when my mom started her podcast and she didn't know this and she did that. So they see us, you know, the failures and the successes, and they see that it's not all linear and it's a process, and they get to experience that process with us. So they have that in their back pocket. And so when they come up into a stumbling block, they say, oh, well, I know my mom had a problem with that and these are the things that she did, so maybe I'll try that. You know, it's just a way of being an example and giving them example of, you know, life and how to pursue goals and push through, and the process that it takes to bring something into fruition, a dream into an existence. That's all. It's not too inspired, just like you said. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, and really, for we keep coming back to this point about it's just life. This is just life. This is just how we live our life. And for our children, this is just normal. Like they don't. We can, and I do sit here and look at my children's life, maybe compared to other children in society, or maybe compared to my own life, and I think, wow, their life's great, but they're just it's just normal. It's just normal for them. It's just like, this is just the everyday.
Yes, this is what life is, and it's so wonderful, like for them to be in community with other kids that are unschoolers as well, where it's normal for them as well. And so that's what we're doing here. We have to build this community and expanding and getting the message out so that more people who are like thinking about doing it or who are already doing it reach out and join a group or something, so we can hear their experiences as well, because like you said, it helps us. It helps us to have those other perspectives come in, and it is just such a great community that is so non-judgmental and accepting, that you do want all the perspectives and you do want more people coming in and participating. So it's awesome, and having the kids do it too. You're right, because they do it from a different perspective, because they're still children. And even though I consider myself an unschooler, I went to school, like you said, and I went to university, and I did all those things. So I have an extra layer that they don't have. So them being in community with each other is also a key part of the community, and all different ages, like you said, from all the age, no age segregation, just the complete, we're all in this together. It's awesome, and it's been the best part of it for me, and I'm so excited to see it grow.
I'm sure you noticed my daughter trotting in.
Yes.
Trotting out. She's pretty tired, and I am required to help her go to bed, because that is one of the things that it's one of the things parents do.
Duty
help
calls,
their children to bed. Thank you for joining me. It's been it's been really eclectic. I don't know what category I'm going to put this under. I might have to make a whole new category for our conversation. And I do really hope that we'll be able to chat again sometime, and listeners can join me again in the next episode, when I will be having another unschooling conversation and discussing life and learning from an unschooling perspective with yet another awesome guest.
Yes, thank you for having me too. I really enjoyed the conversation.